Well, hello traders and investors. I'm Elliot Little and this is your daily NeoTA wrap. We take a look at these markets. We're doing it from a neoclassical perspective. Each time we're asking ourselves what happened today and what does it tell us about the coming ones. I do this show 4 times a week, every Monday through Thursday. It's broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time. It's archived on YouTube and it's under the channel L.A. Little. If you want to subscribe and you haven't, just reach up in the right hand corner and do so. Anytime I push content, you'll get a notification. As far as what did happen today, we got a little bit of a bounce out there. If you remember back, 2 days back, we saw that the European markets were set to pull back. That was the setback that we saw yesterday. And then last night, as we looked at it, it kind of looked like we would, probably get some sort of a under back over on the DAX and maybe pick things up. I looked at the Swiss market. I couldn't see anything clean there. Actually, that one said, if this thing doesn't hold, it could get bad. But what really did happen is things did hold, which typically is the case in a bullish type environment, which we have now. And they turn it back around and move things higher. So we get a nice big turn. Had a little bit of weakness right out of the bat, but outside of that, then it was all, hunky-dory and back up to the upside. So if we look at these markets, pretty much across the board, upside today, the Russell gained the most, lost the most yesterday. Silver and gold take a little bit of a hit. They were up yesterday. You actually had the Asian markets down deep last night. I can see that the Nikkei looks like it's up a little bit tonight. The DAX ended up doing the under back over. We'll look at that chart real quickly. Look at a couple more viewer subscriber requests and kind of take a feel for what we should expect tomorrow with the Bank of England. If we take a look at this, remember last night, when we took a look at this, we were saying, hey, this market is set up and doesn't want to give it up, right? And has this little range. And we actually held inside that range. We kicked up underneath it here, but by the end of the day, we're in it. And today, we're in an inside day still in the range. So I don't see anything here on the S&P that's going to give us any kind of indication as to what's coming next. If we move over to the NASDAQ, we have the same case, right? You push down, you have inside day, doesn't tell us anything. If we look at the NDX, we got the exact same picture, doesn't tell us anything. And finally, if we go to the Russell gets an under back over, and it has slightly less volume, but it's so close, I don't know that I can put any kind of weighting on that. So, if I look at all these markets internally, right, in terms of the state side, I don't see anything here to tell me anything about what's coming next. If I move over to Europe, though, and this is where everything's going to hit tomorrow with the Bank of England, there we actually have an under-over. I don't have the volumes, but I did look at this earlier today from what I could in terms of a proxy, and it looked like an under-over on lighter volume. So I'm almost certain it was an under-over on lighter volume when compared to this bar, which is the key bar. And so as you came back into it, right, you get under it, back over it, right, you close over it. This looks to me like it's going to try to pop back up. And if you study neoclassical, if you understand the methods that I espouse and that I use to do my own trading and what I teach, you know where the significant bars are. You've got one here, a swing point high. You got a breakdown bar there. It's going to be the intersection or the congruent area between those that you expect this thing to go back to. That's up there. That's where it should shoot for. And so we'll see if that should happen. Now, the other thing in neoclassical is we're constantly looking for tests, and we're looking to see how those tests either fail or succeed to give us more information about where the market is going. And so as we go back up there, right, if it gets up there and fails, that's going to tell us something. If it gets over it, of course, that tells us something different. So that's the test. That's what we'll watch. That's where it should try to get to start with. And if it does, then we'll have some further information that we can make decisions on. That's neoclassical in a nutshell, folks. As long as you know the rules, you know how the game is played, then you can play the game along with everybody else. The CAX doesn't really give us a good clue, and as I was talking about with Switzerland, the Swiss index got under. It was kind of hanging out there yesterday, and there really wasn't much to go on. as we look at it tonight, it actually came into, there was like 3 or 4 bars here, this being the wide price spread bar, but then you had a decent wide price spread bar right there. Volume on it was decent, 79.79. Where does it come to today? 79.73, closes back over it. That looks like a little reversal, maybe a little hammer reversal. Yesterday was 80.09, was a little, well, not the low, yeah, 80.09 close, yeah. So you actually get a little hammer reversal. Again, don't get the volumes until later. So, from what I see, looks like these markets may want to try and turn and head back the other way. Let's look at a couple of requests here. One of them is Potash. Potash had actually, this is remember question here asking me, was this a test failure? That was the first question. And no, it's not really a test failure. It's actually a success. In other words, you tested here and you succeeded to get through it. Now, what it did do immediately afterwards is it came back up on some decent volume here, right, and then shoots back up. Now, as I told the member in an email, because they hit me with this late yesterday and I knew they'd want to be looking at trading this today, I wouldn't be buying this. This is what I wrote them. I wouldn't be buying this until they can get over the bearish retest regenerate, which is what you're looking at here. So you're taking the high of the low that was broken and you're testing back into it. And look what happens. You get up, you get over it, you close back inside of it. You got less volume compared to this bar, and certainly less volume when compared to the breakdown bar. This thing's going to come back down and try to test the lows. So no, I think it's a little bit early to be thinking about buying this. You need to see another test that fails and then get over that bearish retest regen, or give you a good clean reversal. You didn't have a clean reversal down here on the first attempt. The other stock that they wanted to look at was DRD, which is the gold. And now the gold actually went up and tested the top. So on a daily, you got a top at 903, you get to 910, right? You shoot up there with a decent volume, 1.4 versus 1.3. You get over it, you get back underneath it, and you close underneath. Now you had more volume, which is good, which says, hey, I can go up there and try it again. But the fact that you got over it, back under it, you had less, more volume. All it tells you is you got a test failure, but you could try again. Now, what's more interesting is if you pull the weekly chart over and you look at it, because on the weekly chart, let's see if we can sit it down here. You got a big volume spike. The bar next to it, right, 4 bars back, gets over it, back under it, and has a little bit less volume. That's a failure. Now you come back up and you fail again. Now, this is through 3 days doing 2.9, so that's roughly a million a day. So that means you're going to do about 5. What is this? 6.3. So unless volume really picks up, it's going to be a second test failure on on lighter volume. That's not a good thing. So when I'm looking at this particular chart of gold, it looks to me like this may have a hard time actually pushing higher. And if I look at GLD, right, GLD didn't get to the top, and GLD on a daily and GLD on the weekly also is trying to get up to a higher volume bar and can't get to it yet. So, overall, that looks to me like that may in fact fail. As far as what's going to happen tomorrow, we've got the not the ECB, but the BOE, the Bank of England. They're going to tell us what they're going to do with respect to both interest rates in England and potentially more QE as a result of the Brexit vote. Now the market pretty much has already priced in a quarter percent cut on the rates. And also looks like it's priced in about 50 bill on the QE. And so anything less than that probably is not going to sit well with this market. And so I would be watching that tomorrow as kind of the headline numbers, and then see what the reaction is. Again, as I said last night, a retrace a little bit farther down is what I would expect, especially if we get some sort of a headline shock, and probably going to be a buying opportunity when it finally comes. That's it for tonight. If you want to be a member, if you want more information, just contact me. Come over to the front page. You can hit the Get Started button, and you get more information, just come to the contact and reach out to me. Have a great one. Thanks for calling. Not calling. Thanks for joining. Have a great night. I'll see you next time. Good night.